AM Extra, we're diving deeper into one of Oregon's great mysteries. What happened to the Martin family?
And it's a case that KOIN 6's Jeff Gianola has documented and reported on for the last 30 years. So let's catch you up to speed here. The Martin family has been missing since 1958. The investigation once again back in the headlines after local diver Archer Mayo found the Portland family's suspected car last fall. Then in March, Jeff was there to witness the vehicle being pulled from the Columbia River in the city of Cascade Locks. And then just last month, Archer telling us he has recovered the remains and artifacts, some remains I should say, from that car. And Archer now joining us in the studio here to talk about this groundbreaking discovery. Archer, always appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, you were there this past spring after the recovery mission of the car. You know, it's something that we have a lot of coverage on, again, on KOIN.com. And again, you say you found some human remains. Tell us exactly what you found and what these last few weeks have been like for you.
Yeah, well, once the spring thaw kind of came and went in the river, I went back in starting in July and started working on uncovering the car, getting inside the car, and moved more and more into finding actual artifacts and then eventually the occupants of the car. So.
And that is still somewhat of a question. We know these remains are being tested by the state forensic anthropologist. We're still waiting on those official results, but you say you found some other items in this car that have you pretty convinced these are some of the remains of the Martin family.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Emily. I found a camera with Ken Martin's name and address scratched into the leather, and he was famous for carrying cameras and being a real photo bug person. So
wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So how does this change the picture that we have right now around this investigation? How does this change where we go from here?
You know, that's a good question, because officially it's one thing. I think in the public mind, what I've done really, to me, it really seals it, right? Because I've always kind of worked under the assumption this was an accident, and I followed that trail, got that concluded. But for the sheriff, they have a higher threshold of saying, so we don't have a VIN number, we have a partial license plate, but this really, and I know the DNA testing, if they can do this on these remains, is gonna close it eventually.
What is this like for you emotionally? Because you've been so invested in this story, I would say emotionally and probably financially, diving into the river time and time again.
Yeah.
Where do you stand with this process and this story right now?
Yeah, I've been so wrapped around this, it's a little hard to imagine life afterwards.
Yeah.
Honestly, but as an artist, you know, I've been a sculptor my whole adult life. So, and being a sculptor is like a way of engaging with the physical world. And so now I've gone from this phase to like hopefully processing it and then making some art about some of what I've experienced, which has been, I would not have expected that the obsession would have happened like it did, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, well, I really got wrapped around it.
I think there are so many folks who are very fortunate to have had you obsessed with this case and in the water as much as you were. It'll be interesting to see kind of, you know, where that criminal investigation eventually leads.
Yeah.
What's next for you, though? Are you going to continue working on this case in any way?
Well, the book, right? Yeah. So I'm working with Ian Costello, who actually was a KOIN producer here.
A familiar face around here,
yes, absolutely.
And so we are hoping to have a book. I mean, I did the one-man show, and the one-man show was very much about the emotional arc of 7 years of something so difficult. The book is really going to have the underpinnings of the story, about the Martins, who they were, and then all the clues and how eventually this logically added up to be solved. So I'm really excited about that. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for speaking and just like revisiting and kind of getting it out in the world as the book's done.
I think it's one of those cases that many people thought may never be solved.
Right.
You know, that we may never come away with the answers here. What was it like for you the moment that you were able to go back down to that car and actually discover human remains?
Yeah,
how did that sit with you?
Yeah, it's a funny thing because, you know, at first it was the car. First it was a mystery, it was an abstraction, and then it's like, oh, this is the real car. Yeah. And then it's like, then there's physical items that belong to specific people, then there are the specific people. So it just kept getting kind of more intense and more, I mean, it's a really serious thing to the reflection of what that the tragedy of what happened to them, but also the tragedy of what happened to the culture when people just go missing. Yeah. Like that's a whole kind of separate tragedy, and I can't heal the first one, but I think I've done a lot to heal the second one.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Where can people follow along with your journeys, whether it's with this story or, you know, your next adventure?
Thank you. Well, martinmystery.com is a website that I put together to have a lot of the press, the one-man show I did, a lot of resources are there. There's a GoFundMe on there if anybody wants to buy me a beer or a coffee. I would love to make some, you know, a little bit back. And I've been getting a lot of really beautiful thanks and appreciation, and that feels really good. And then otherwise, you know, just it's just not over. You know, art and mysteries are still out there to be solved. So
Yeah.
It's such an incredible story, and we appreciate all your work in bringing a lot of pieces and parts to light.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Archer, thanks for
And
being
great
here.
to see you.
You're so welcome. And Jeff has been so great in this, and Coyne has been
Absolutely.
so great in this. I just want to reflect and appreciate.
It's been an obsession for Jeff too to figure out what's happened to the Martin family, and you two have been in lockstep to try to find an answer to that, along with investigators. So yeah, great to talk to you again, and I'm sure we'll reconnect here soon.
Thanks, Archer. Yeah, and of course, KOIN 6 has extensive coverage of the Martin family disappearance from over the years. You can see a lot of Jeff's reporting, a lot of the events of this year, and more. That is all for you right now on KOIN.com.